Welcome to a journey where myth and wisdom meet across the ages. Tonight, we open the gates of memory and timeless thought. This is the story of Athena, goddess of wisdom and eternal strategy. She stands not with the roar of war, but with the calm of vision. In her presence, silence carries more weight than thunder. Her eyes are clear, her mind sharper than any blade of bronze. Athena's world is not about conquest, but about guidance. She teaches that every choice is a seed for tomorrow's garden. In ancient Athens, her gift was not a weapon, but an olive tree. It grew as a symbol of peace, of nourishment, of enduring life. From that moment, her name became the heart of a city, and her strategy became more than a myth. It became a compass. Through the ages, her wisdom crossed from temple to council hall. It shaped voices, guided leaders, and whispered in quiet minds. Her eternal strategy lives in balance, foresight, and resilience. It is the art of seeing patterns before they unfold. It is the strength of weaving unity from scattered threads. And tonight, we follow her path through stories and reflections. Athena calls us not to fight, but to understand. This is the beginning of her eternal strategy. In the beginning, wisdom was not a sudden spark, but a slow awakening. The ancients tell us Athena emerged fully formed, radiant with clarity. Her story is not about violence, but about the birth of understanding. When she appeared, the world saw more than a figure. It saw foresight. Athena did not bring chaos. She brought a light that cut through uncertainty. Her presence was calm, her silence louder than the storm around her. She carried with her the first lesson of strategy: clarity before action. This clarity is not given. It is earned through thought and observation. To the Greeks, Athena symbolized the mind's ability to rise above fear. Where others rushed into turmoil, she stood still, seeing the whole picture. The birth of wisdom is a quiet revolution, not a clash of force. It begins when we pause and see what lies hidden in plain sight. Athena's birth reminds us that wisdom is older than conflict itself. She teaches that thought is the first shield and foresight, the first tool. Her presence in myths is less about dominance, more about guidance. Even Zeus, king of the gods, valued her perspective above raw power. Her emergence became a turning point where mind met destiny. The ancients watched and saw a goddess who embodied balance. She was not a storm, not a flame, but a steady guiding flame. The birth of wisdom is like the dawn. It comes slowly, yet transforms all. Every culture has its moment when clarity shines through confusion. For the Greeks, Athena was that dawn, that eternal morning star. Her strategy was never about defeating, but about perceiving. She saw that every problem carried within it a hidden solution, and she knew that every decision shaped the future like a sculptor's hand. To follow Athena's path is to embrace reflection before reaction. It is to choose patience over haste, understanding over impulse. She reminds us that wisdom grows in the soil of curiosity. The owl, her sacred symbol, represents eyes that see in darkness. It does not rush. It waits. It observes. It understands before it moves. That is the essence of wisdom's birth. Observation before judgment. Athena's story continues to whisper across centuries and cultures. She stands as a reminder that strength without clarity is fragile, and clarity without wisdom is only half the journey of the mind. Her birth is a metaphor for the awakening within each of us. Every time we step back to see clearly, wisdom is reborn in us. Every time we choose to reflect, we follow the eternal path she set. The ancients saw her as a protector, not of battles, but of balance. She was the guardian of those who sought justice through reason. Her gifts were insight, strategy, and the courage to choose rightly. The story of her birth teaches that wisdom is not noise, but silence. Not fire, but light. Not command, but guidance. Not conquest, but clarity. And so, her first strategy remains eternal. See before you step. Think before you speak. Understand before you decide. This is the foundation of Athena's eternal strategy. The birth of wisdom is not locked in myth. It lives in us today. When we take time to listen to the quiet voice within, she speaks. Her presence rises in boardrooms, in classrooms, in quiet rooms of thought. She is there when we weigh choices that shape the days ahead. The birth of wisdom is not the end of a story, but its beginning. Athena's emergence is not past. It is present, alive in every moment. And so, the eternal strategy begins where wisdom first takes breath. The owl sits quietly upon Athena's shoulder, a companion older than memory. Its eyes are wide, unblinking, alive with a wisdom beyond words. The Greeks saw in this bird the gift of vision, where others are blind. Not the vision of daylight alone, but the ability to see through darkness. For darkness is not only night, but also confusion, fear, and uncertainty. The owl teaches that clarity is born not in noise, but in patience. Its gaze pierces the veil of shadow and reveals what lies hidden. This is why Athena chose the owl, not for beauty, but for depth. To see what others miss, to notice the quiet truth beneath distraction. The owl's flight is silent, a symbol of subtlety and unseen strategy. No flapping sound, no alarm, just presence, invisible yet ever aware. In this silence lies the eternal power of perception before movement. Athena's strategy was never about haste, but about deliberate steps. She knew the world rewards those who can see beyond appearances. The owl does not panic when the world grows dark. It awakens. It reminds us that wisdom often comes in moments of shadow. When light fades, the eyes of clarity are just beginning to open. To live by the owl's vision is to embrace patience as strength. It is to recognize that rushing blinds, while stillness reveals. Athena's eternal strategy was built on this quiet discipline of sight. For leaders, vision is not merely looking, but truly perceiving. It means seeing the consequences that lie far beyond today's choice. It means understanding the hidden ties connecting events and people. Athena's owl whispers, "Do not fear the unknown. Learn to see within it." In uncertainty lies not only danger, but also opportunity for wisdom. The owl perceives paths invisible to the eyes of hurried souls. It moves with certainty because it trusts the clarity of silence. This is how strategy is born, not in noise, but in observation. Athena carried the owl as a reminder that wisdom must watch first. Not every problem requires immediate action. Some require insight. Not every question demands an answer. Some demand listening. The owl embodies that patience, that discipline of holding back. It tells us that foresight begins when we resist the urge to rush. And Athena's wisdom shines most when the world is clouded in doubt. She knew that darkness is not an end, but a different kind of light. For what others fear, the owl explores with calm and steady flight. This lesson stretches far beyond myth into our daily lives. When we face decisions clouded by doubt, the owl teaches pause. When we feel lost in confusion, its eyes remind us to look deeper. The eternal strategy is not to react, but to perceive first. Perception opens doors that force can never unlock. Clarity dissolves fear where strength only multiplies it. Athena's owl has flown across centuries, a symbol unchanged. It appears in books, in art, in quiet emblems of knowledge. Its wings carry the timeless message of wisdom in silence. It says, "Do not be afraid of the dark. It is where vision begins." In this way, the owl's vision becomes our own when we listen. We too can awaken sight beyond confusion, beyond haste. Athena offers us this gift, eternal and ever close. The owl remains perched, watching, waiting, guiding. Its eyes see not only what is, but what could be. And in that vision lies the eternal strategy of Athena. Athena's wisdom was never bound to one side of life. It was balance. She stood between reason and action, guiding both with equal care. The ancients saw her not only as thought, but as thought in motion. Balance, she taught, is the art of holding two truths without fear. One truth speaks of patience, the other urges us to act with courage. Wisdom is not choosing one and abandoning the other, but weaving both. Athena's eternal strategy rests upon this harmony of opposites. Like the olive tree, strong in root yet gentle in its offering. It stands firm against storm, but bends gracefully with the wind. This is the art of balance, the strength to hold steady, the grace to yield. In her temples, people prayed not just for victory, but for guidance. They asked to see clearly when silence was needed and to speak when it was time. Athena knew that too much thought can paralyze, too much haste can destroy. She reminded her followers that balance is not weakness, but mastery. Balance is the bridge between dream and deed, vision and reality. Her strategy invites us to walk that bridge with care and awareness. When a leader listens but never acts, the people lose faith. When a leader acts without listening, the people suffer confusion. But when a leader does both, balance becomes the root of trust. This lesson was not ancient alone. It is alive in every decision today. Think of the moments when we are torn between waiting and moving. Athena whispers, "Weigh both sides, then step forward with calm resolve." She is the compass that keeps us steady in times of inner conflict. Balance is not a static state, but a living dance of choices. The river does not resist its bends. It flows with them gracefully. So must wisdom bend without breaking, choosing paths that endure. Athena's gift was not to erase difficulty, but to balance its weight. She showed that every burden can be carried when balanced rightly. A heavy load on one side topples, but spread evenly, it steadies. The same is true for thought and action in our lives. One without the other cannot hold, but together they endure. Her strategy teaches us to measure, to breathe, to align within. Balance is seen in the loom, where many threads form one fabric. It is seen in the city, where many voices shape one chorus. It is seen in the soul, where many doubts become one decision. To live without balance is to stumble. To live with it is to walk sure. Athena's eternal strategy is not grand. It is subtle, steady, enduring. She does not shout. She whispers the language of equilibrium. Her balance is the rhythm of the seasons, the harmony of the sky. It is the way the sun gives day and the moon offers night. Neither dominates, each yields in time, and life is held together. Athena saw in this the secret of strategy that never fails. Balance is not compromise. It is strength guided by wisdom. It is not surrender. It is action tempered by foresight. She teaches us to hold back when haste burns too hot. She teaches us to step forward when fear freezes our will. Between these two forces, she places the guiding hand of balance. And so, her eternal strategy remains simple yet profound. Do not live in extremes, for they blind the mind and weaken the heart. Walk the middle path with clarity, and your steps will endure. The ancients saw this balance as her truest gift to the world. It is why she was honored not only in battle, but in peace. Why her temples were filled not only with warriors, but with thinkers. She was both shield and olive branch, both protector and teacher. The art of balance was her eternal gift, her timeless compass. And through it, Athena's strategy still guides the hearts of all who listen. Long ago, the people of Attica faced a choice that would define their future. Two gods offered their gifts, each promising prosperity for the city. Poseidon struck the earth, and from the ground rose a saltwater spring. It was a symbol of power, of the sea, of dominion and reach. Yet the water was briny, a reminder that not all strength sustains life. Then Athena stepped forward, calm, measured, her eyes filled with foresight. She planted her spear into the soil, and an olive tree appeared. The tree was small, but it promised something far greater than force. It gave fruit for nourishment, wood for warmth, oil for light. It gave shade for rest, branches for peace, roots for stability. The people looked, and they saw not a weapon, but a future. They chose Athena's gift, and the city took her name, Athens. This was not merely a story of gods, but a vision over impulse. Athena's strategy was eternal. Choose what sustains, not what dazzles. The olive tree grew into a symbol of life, peace, and endurance. It reminded the people that wisdom builds where force only fades. In this gift, Athena taught that true power is creation, not destruction. Cities thrive not from conquest, but from the roots of stability. Athens became a center of dialogue, thought, and human flourishing. The Parthenon was not only a temple, but a monument to balance. Its stones echoed with the voices of philosophy, art, and democracy. All of this began with a simple choice: an olive tree over a spring. Athena's eternal strategy whispered, "Choose growth, not spectacle." It is a lesson that still echoes across time into our world today. We often stand at crossroads, dazzled by glitter, blinded by noise. One path promises immediate glory, the other, quiet, steady growth. Athena teaches us to ask, which path truly sustains the generations? Which choice bears fruit not only for today, but for tomorrow? The olive tree teaches that peace can feed more than power can, that patience grows deeper roots than haste ever will. It is no wonder that Athens became a city of voices and ideas. Its strength was not its armies alone, but its culture, thought, and art. This is the eternal strategy: nourishment over dominance. The spring of salt water could never quench thirst, nor feed a child. But the olive tree could stand for centuries, steady and generous. In every branch, there was a reminder of Athena's foresight. In every olive harvested, there was a taste of her wisdom. Even today, the olive wreath crowns victors as a symbol of honor. It does not speak of battle won, but of peace preserved. Athena's choice gave the world more than a city. It gave an ideal that knowledge, dialogue, and balance are the true foundations. The gift of the olive tree is the heart of her eternal strategy. It shows us that wisdom is not in the loudest force, but in the quiet root. That vision is not in what burns bright, but in what endures. And so Athens, born from her gift, became more than a city. It became a testament to the power of choosing wisely. It became a beacon of thought, a light for future generations. All from a tree that whispered of patience, peace, and resilience. This is the eternal strategy of Athena. Choose what gives life. Choose what nourishes the many, not what dazzles the few. Choose the olive tree, and you choose a future that endures. And thus, the story of a city became the story of wisdom itself. Athena is often seen with two symbols that speak louder than any tale: the loom and the shield, both simple, both profound in meaning. At first glance, they seem opposite. One weaves, the other defends. Yet together they form a lesson at the heart of her eternal strategy. The loom is not only a tool for threads, but for patterns of life. It gathers many strands, fragile alone, strong when woven together. Each thread is a story, a choice, a voice, a path. On the loom, they find harmony, creating fabric that endures. This is how Athena teaches us about unity in diversity. No thread is dismissed, no color ignored, no pattern wasted. Wisdom lies in weaving differences into strength, not letting them fray. The loom whispers that strategy is not force, but design. It is the art of seeing how small parts form a larger whole. Athena's hands on the loom remind us of careful preparation. Every choice is like a thread. When woven, it becomes destiny. She teaches patience, for weaving requires time and steady care. The shield, by contrast, is not for attack, but for protection. It is the guardian of what has been woven, the defender of peace. Athena's shield does not shine with conquest, but with responsibility. It reminds us that wisdom must also preserve what is precious. To weave without protecting is to risk the fabric unraveling. To protect without weaving is to hold nothing worth guarding. Athena's eternal strategy lies in holding both symbols together. The loom builds, the shield preserves. Creation and protection in balance. In ancient tales, her shield bore the face of clarity and warning. It was less a weapon, more a mirror for truth and awareness. It told those who looked upon it, see yourself, see your path. The loom, meanwhile, told them, your path is one of many threads. Together they speak, protect wisdom, but also create with it. Athena teaches us that strategy is not merely defense, but design. It is not merely weaving dreams, but also guarding them with care. When we weave relationships, we must shield them from neglect. When we weave knowledge, we must shield it from corruption. The loom and the shield are not objects, but living symbols. They are ways of seeing life as both fragile and enduring. Athena shows us that every life is a tapestry of choices, and every tapestry needs protection if it is to last through time. The ancients honored her not for battle, but for this wisdom. They knew the loom built their culture, the shield kept it safe. Athens grew not only in strength, but in beauty and thought. The loom wove art, law, and philosophy. The shield preserved them. Athena's eternal strategy was never about conquest, but balance. She wove futures as carefully as a weaver's hand guides threads, and she shielded them with the strength of foresight and clarity. This lesson still speaks when we build families, cities, or dreams. We must weave with care, but also protect what we weave. Ideas must be nurtured, but also defended from carelessness. Relationships must be cherished, but also shielded from neglect. Athena's loom and shield remind us that wisdom is dual. It creates with patience, it guards with responsibility. Without the loom, there is nothing to preserve. Without the shield, nothing survives long enough to matter. And so her eternal strategy remains. Weave with vision, guard with care. A tapestry of wisdom is only as strong as its threads, and a shield of wisdom is only as true as what it protects. The loom and the shield are not opposites, but companions. Together, they form the eternal legacy of Athena's strategy. In the heart of Athens, there stood a sacred olive tree by the Acropolis. It was said to be the very tree that Athena gifted to the people. Generations grew under its shade, finding strength in its silent presence. The tree was not only a symbol, but a living witness to history. Its roots reached deep, binding soil, stone, and memory together. Its branches stretched wide, offering shade to those who gathered beneath. Children played near it, elders told stories under its leaves. It became the meeting place of wisdom, the center of quiet reflection. The olive tree did not speak, yet it told 1,000 tales. It taught patience as its branches grew slowly with each passing year. It taught resilience as it withstood storms, wind, and fire. For Athenians, the tree was more than wood and leaves. It was a reminder of the goddess who chose growth over spectacle. Each harvest of olives felt like a blessing from Athena herself. The oil was used in lamps, in meals, and in sacred offerings. Its light filled homes and temples, shining like fragments of wisdom. Athletes were crowned with olive wreaths, symbols of peace and honor. Not for conquest, but for harmony, for the balance of effort and spirit. The tree gave silently, never demanding, always sustaining. Its gift was humble, yet it carried the weight of eternity. This was the essence of Athena's eternal strategy in living form. Not the thunder of seas, but the quiet strength of roots. Not the fleeting roar of conquest, but the lasting gift of sustenance. The olive tree became a compass for the city's choices. Whenever Athens faced hardship, its people looked to the tree. They asked themselves, which choice will endure as the tree endures? Which path will nourish as the olive nourishes? The tree reminded them that wisdom is measured in seasons, not moments. That the greatest legacies grow slowly, quietly, deeply. It was a sacred rhythm, teaching them the patience of life itself. When wars came and passed, the tree still stood. When leaders rose and fell, the tree still gave. It bore no crown, yet it ruled through its quiet offering. Even in silence, it was a teacher of resilience and grace. The olive tree told them, life is not about victory, but continuity. It whispered, peace is not weakness, but the soil of true strength. And the people listened, for its lesson was older than any battle. In time, the tree became more than a symbol of Athens. It became a beacon for the world beyond its walls. Travelers who saw it carried stories back to distant lands. They spoke of a city crowned not with fire but with wisdom. They spoke of a goddess whose gift was peace, not war. And they spoke of a tree that stood through ages unbroken. Even today, the olive tree remains a global sign of hope. It stands on flags, in emblems, and in the hands of peacemakers. Its branches cross oceans, offering unity where conflict divides. Athena's eternal strategy lives on in every leaf and every fruit. The tree tells us that the strongest legacy is the one that sustains. That wisdom is not in the loudest cry, but in quiet endurance. The sacred olive tree by the Acropolis still whispers its story. It whispers of a goddess who gave not power, but life. It whispers of a people who chose vision over vanity. And it whispers to us, choose what endures, as Athena once did. In every city there comes a time when voices rise and ideas collide. Athens was no different, for it was a city built on thought and debate. The Agora, its bustling marketplace, was more than a place for trade. It was a stage where words became currency and ideas were exchanged. Merchants sold goods, but philosophers offered questions and reflections. Citizens gathered not only to buy, but to listen, argue, and learn. Athena's spirit lingered there, guiding discourse with quiet patience. Her eternal strategy was not to silence, but to nurture dialogue. For she knew that wisdom thrives when many voices are heard. The Agora became a living loom, weaving threads of different minds. One voice might speak of justice, another of courage, another of law. Together they formed patterns, not always perfect, but deeply human. Athena's gift was not certainty, but the courage to ask and seek. In the marketplace, debates stretched long into the afternoons. Some argued fiercely, others listened, some merely observed in thought. Children watched, learning that questions are as powerful as answers. The city thrived not by avoiding conflict, but by shaping it into growth. Athena's shield hovered over the space, unseen but ever present. It protected the agora as a place of words, not weapons. It ensured that the battles fought there were battles of ideas. And so, Athens grew not only in wealth, but in wisdom and vision. Philosophers began to walk the streets, their minds restless with wonder. Socrates with his questions, Plato with his forms, Aristotle with his logic. Each carried a thread, weaving into the greater tapestry of thought. The agora was their classroom, the city their living dialogue. Athena's eternal strategy lived in this openness of mind and heart. For wisdom cannot breathe where silence is forced or fear imposed. It flourishes where voices mingle, where even disagreement has value. The Athenians learned that democracy was not born in marble halls. It was born in the dust and chatter of the agora. It was born in the willingness to listen, to argue, to reflect. Athena smiled upon this, for it was her vision made alive. The agora was the olive tree extended into human conversation. It offered shade, nourishment, and the chance for roots to intertwine. Each voice was a branch, each thought a leaf reaching toward light. And though not every idea endured, the dialogue itself was eternal. Athena's strategy was never about perfection, but about persistence. For a city that listens will always outlast a city that silences. Even today, echoes of the agora reach into our world. In every parliament, classroom, or open forum of discussion, whenever voices rise to seek better answers, Athena is near. She whispers, "Do not fear the clash of thought. It is growth." She reminds us, wisdom is not found in agreement alone. It is found in the tension between difference and respect. The agora stands as proof that dialogue is the root of wisdom, that a city of words can build foundations stronger than stone. Athena's eternal strategy shines in this truth. Nurture conversation. Protect the spaces where minds meet, and wisdom will flourish. In the agora of Athens, people discovered their true strength, not in conquest, but in the power of collective reflection. And so, the heart of the city was not its walls or temples. It was the voices of its people, weaving wisdom together. This was the agora, and this was Athena's eternal gift. Wisdom does not live only in temples or among philosophers on marble steps. It also lives in the quiet hands of those who work the land. Athena knew this, and so her gift was not distant, but practical. The olive tree was not just a symbol, but a tool for daily life. Farmers rose with the sun, and tended to their groves with care. Each branch held the promise of nourishment, light, and stability. Families pressed olives into oil, their hands learning patience and craft. The oil burned in lamps, carrying light into long winter nights. It flavored food, giving strength to the body and comfort to the spirit. It anointed athletes, priests, and newborns, a blessing in every drop. Thus, the olive was not luxury, but the fabric of survival and hope. In this, Athena showed that wisdom is found in the ordinary. It is not always lofty or grand, but woven into daily rhythms. The people of Athens came to honor the tree in rituals of gratitude. Festivals celebrated its harvest, processions carried branches through the city. The Panathenaic Games crowned victors with wreaths of its leaves. These were not trophies of conquest, but of harmony with Athena's gift. The olive tree bound the community together in work and in worship. It reminded them that prosperity is not a storm, but a steady rain, that wealth is not in gold, but in what sustains through seasons. Athena's eternal strategy was clear. True strength begins with nourishment. The people who eat, who light their homes, who share bread in peace, these endure. No empire built on hunger or neglect can last beyond a generation. But a city that feeds its children and honors its roots will thrive. The humble olive groves stretched across Attica like silent guardians. They bore witness to the rise of laws, dramas, and philosophies. Their fruit fed the bodies of those whose minds fed the world. Thus the olive tree and the city grew together, one in spirit. Athena had chosen wisely, for her gift was a foundation, not a spectacle. Even in hardship, the groves endured, offering steady provision. Their resilience became the resilience of the people themselves. Athenians learned that wisdom is the art of continuity. It is not the brightest fire, but the one that burns longest. The olive tree, year after year, taught them this truth. It stood silent, but its silence carried the weight of ages. The farmers who cared for it became quiet philosophers of their own. They learned patience from seasons, humility from soil, faith from harvest. They embodied Athena's lesson that wisdom begins with daily acts. Each drop of oil was a spark of her eternal strategy. It lit not only lamps, but also minds, temples, and traditions. Athena's wisdom flowed in every meal, every flame, every blessing. The olive tree was the thread connecting survival to meaning. And so Athens grew, not only as a city of ideas, but of sustenance. Its greatness was not only marble and words, but groves and fields. This balance was the heartbeat of Athena's strategy. She taught that wisdom serves when it nourishes both body and soul. That strategy endures when it provides for today and for tomorrow. The people learn to see holiness in the ordinary, the sacred in the simple. And they pass this vision down, root to branch, generation to generation. The olive tree whispered, "Wisdom is daily bread, not distant thunder." And in that whisper, Athena's eternal gift lived on forever. Athena's wisdom was not confined to trees, oil, or harvests. It extended into the very fabric of how people lived together. She whispered into the hearts of leaders and listeners alike. The city to endure must be more than stone and commerce. It must be bound by trust, by shared voice, by measured law. And so in Athens, assemblies grew where citizens could gather. They did not always agree, yet they stood beneath the same sky. Each voice was a thread, and together they wove a tapestry. In debate, ideas met like rivers, sometimes clashing, sometimes joining. Athena's eternal strategy was not silence, but dialogue. For she knew wisdom is sharpened when tested against another view. The agora became not just a marketplace, but a meeting of minds. Merchants sold olives and grain while philosophers questioned existence. Laughter, argument, and storytelling filled the open air. Here, freedom was not simply spoken, it was practiced. Each person carried both responsibility and privilege to participate. Athena guided them not with commands, but with quiet inspiration. She showed them that democracy was fragile yet strong. It depended on listening as much as speaking. It required patience, restraint, and the courage to compromise. True wisdom, she taught, was not in winning, but in balance. Athens learned to measure greatness not by the sword, but by the vote. Not by conquest, but by the ability to coexist in difference. And though imperfect, these gatherings planted seeds for ages to come. for every voice mattered, and each decision echoed beyond city walls. This was the essence of Athena's strategy. Wisdom shared is wisdom multiplied. The poorest farmer and the wealthiest trader stood side by side. Their hands may have differed, but their voices carried equal weight. No throne, no crown, but a circle of citizens in dialogue. This too was power. Gentle, enduring, revolutionary. Athena's spirit walked among them as they argued and laughed. Her wisdom was in the pauses, the silences between words. In those silences, choices formed that would shape centuries. The people came to trust not in one ruler, but in many. They found strength in collective judgment, in shared responsibility. And thus, Athens became not just a city, but an idea. An idea that governance could be crafted from conversation, that fairness could be forged in the fire of dialogue, that justice could be born from the courage to listen. This was no accident, but the unfolding of Athena's eternal design, a design where wisdom ruled without throne or crown, where the olive tree's branches mirrored the branching voices of the people, each unique, each essential, each reaching toward the same light. And in the heart of Athens, democracy began to breathe. It was not perfect, not flawless, yet alive with possibility. Athena's strategy was not about certainty, but resilience, not about imposing order, but nurturing growth. And so the people discovered that their strength was shared. Their destiny was woven together, not alone, but as one. In this, Athena's eternal gift lived not in temples, but in their voices. And through their voices, her wisdom continued to shape the world. Athena's wisdom stretched beyond fields and councils into the realm of craft and creation. She guided the hands of artisans as surely as she guided leaders. The hum of workshops echoed like hymns to her eternal strategy. Stonecutters shaped marble not only with strength, but with patience. Potters turned clay, their wheels spinning circles of purpose and grace. Weavers pulled threads, binding color and story into lasting fabric. Every act of craft was more than survival. It was meaning. Athena taught that to build was also to think, to reflect. The loom became a teacher of rhythm, balance, and foresight. The chisel revealed beauty hidden in unshaped stone. Hands at work became minds in dialogue with form. Thus, Athens grew not only in politics, but in artistry. Its streets shone with sculpture, vases, temples, and woven cloth. Each carried the imprint of Athena's wisdom in its detail. The Parthenon rose not merely as stone, but as vision. It was a hymn in marble, a dialogue between human and divine. Every column, every carving, spoke of balance and precision. Athena's gift was not in the monument itself, but in the lesson. That beauty is not vanity, but harmony given shape. That craft is not labor alone, but thought made visible. She showed Athenians that to create was also to remember. Every vase told a myth, every weave carried history. Through their crafts, they preserved memory, identity, and hope. Athena's eternal strategy was to root wisdom in the ordinary. Not only in law, not only in debate, but in the hands. For hands that create also build futures beyond themselves. The child who drank from a cup saw stories painted upon it. The traveler who entered a temple stood within living philosophy. Art and craft were not decoration, but education in silence. Athena's spirit flowed through each workshop and each marketplace. She whispered, "To make with care is to think with clarity. To shape with balance is to live with wisdom." Thus, the people learned that creation was a form of prayer, not loud, not ritualistic, but steady and enduring. The weaver at dawn, the sculptor at noon, the mason at dusk. Each became a vessel of divine thought in motion. In this, Athens found resilience beyond war or famine. For a city that builds with wisdom cannot easily be undone. Its spirit lives in the works that outlast lifetimes. The Parthenon still stands, whispering Athena's eternal lesson, that beauty and order, born from patient hands, endure. Even as voices fade and empires shift, stone and story remain. Athena's strategy was not conquest, but continuity. To teach her people that their greatness lay in creation, that to shape the world with care is to shape the soul. The pot, the cloth, the column, these became seeds of memory, seeds planted in time, sprouting in minds centuries later. Athena's wisdom was not only for the living, but for the unborn. Through craft, she bound generations in silent conversation. Hands long gone still speak through the objects they left. And those who listen find Athena's eternal voice within them. So the city of Athens became a gallery of thought, not locked in scrolls alone, but written in marble and clay. A wisdom that could be touched, walked through, lived within. In this, her eternal strategy unfolded with quiet power. For when a people create with wisdom, they become immortal. Their hands carve time itself, leaving echoes for the ages. And in every chisel mark, in every woven thread, Athena remained. She watched as beauty grew from patience, as meaning grew from form. And she knew, this too is victory, eternal and unbroken. The story of Athena is not a tale bound to marble or myth. It is a living current, flowing through time, reaching into our days. Her eternal strategy was never meant for temples alone. It was meant for minds that wonder, hands that build, hearts that endure. Wisdom, she taught, is not thunder in the sky, but fire in the hearth. It burns quietly, warming those who gather, guiding those who journey. The olive tree still whispers in the wind of Mediterranean hills. Its roots speak of patience, its branches of resilience, its fruit of care. The Parthenon still stands, scarred yet radiant, holding memory in stone. Its columns are not ruins, but reminders of balance and vision. In the Agora, though voices are long silent, the air remembers debate. It remembers laughter, disagreement, compromise, and the courage to listen. Each echo is a seed, planted in the soil of human thought. Athena's gift was not a single answer, but a way of seeing, a way of asking, what endures, what nourishes, what brings harmony? Her strategy was eternal because it grew with each generation. Every age finds its own questions, and her wisdom offers direction. Not rigid commands, but principles flexible as branches in the wind. Nourish the body, and the mind will flourish. Nourish the mind, and the city will thrive. Nourish the city, and the generations will carry hope forward. This is the circle of wisdom she wove into the world. Today, we stand far from Athens, yet close in spirit. We light lamps of knowledge, though oil has turned to electricity. We gather in assemblies, though our agoras are now digital. We shape stone into steel, marble into glass, yet the lesson endures. Wisdom is in the making, in the sharing, in the continuity. Athena's eternal strategy whispers, build not only for yourself, build for those who will walk after you, unseen, unborn, unknown. Let every action be a seed planted in the soil of tomorrow. Let every word be a thread in the fabric of community. Let every creation carry patience, balance, and vision within it. For wisdom without continuity is a flame without fuel, and strategy without care is a bridge without foundation. The Athenians learned this, and so they endured beyond their empire. Not in armies or conquest, but in ideas, laws, and stories. And in us, Their legacy lives, still glowing, still guiding. So when we pause beneath an olive tree, we hear her whisper. When we step into a hall of debate, we feel her presence. When we create with care, we touch her eternal vision. Athena remains, not as a distant goddess, but as a voice within. A voice reminding us that wisdom is eternal when shared, that strategy is eternal when rooted in compassion and balance, that greatness is eternal when built for both body and soul. And so the story does not end, it only continues. With us, with you, with every hand, every word, every choice. Athena's eternal strategy lives on, quiet yet unbreakable, and in its light, humanity still finds its way forward.